If you think Jews and Filipinos couldn't possibly share much in common genetically, think again. Recent DNA studies have revealed a connection so surprising that even scientists didn't believe it at first. And it's not about religion, culture, or history. This is something written deep inside our blood. Today, we're diving into what Jewish and Filipino DNA reveals, the shocking similarities, and the ancient journeys that may have linked these two very different peoples. Most people, when asked about Jewish ancestry, will picture the Middle East, biblical lands, and ancient Israelite tribes. Ask about Filipino DNA, and you'll hear about Austronesian roots, island migrations, and Southeast Asia's diverse mix of influences. Two worlds thousands of kilometers apart. So how could science find a bridge? The answer lies in the oldest human story of all, migration. Jewish genetic studies show a complex picture, Middle Eastern core. DNA markers traced to ancient Levantine populations from over 3,000 years ago. Diaspora layers, European, North African, and even Central Asian influences shaped Jewish communities over centuries. Signature haplogroups, Y-DNA lineages like J1 and J2, and mtDNA lineages like K and N1b are common among Jewish groups. Filipino DNA is honestly equally complex. The majority of Filipinos descend from Austronesian voyagers who sailed from Taiwan thousands of years ago. But it's not just that. Ancient hunter-gatherer populations, the Negritos, have lived in the Philippines for over 40,000 years. And then there are the foreign influences: Chinese traders, Malay migrants, Indian merchants, Arab missionaries, and Spanish colonizers all left their genetic footprints too. Y-DNA haplogroups like O1A, O2A, and C2 are the most common, while mtDNA shows these really deep links to Pacific and Southeast Asian populations. Here's where things get wild. A recent comparative analysis of global genetic databases revealed that both Jewish and Filipino populations share trace amounts of the same ancient DNA. Specifically, signals linked to early human groups from the Middle East and South Asia. About 50,000 years ago, humans left Africa and spread across the world. One branch moved through the Middle East, into South Asia, and eventually reached Southeast Asia and Oceania. Another branch remained in the Levant and evolved into the core populations that would later become the ancestors of the Jewish people. Another theory involves later contact, specifically through ancient maritime trade. Archaeological evidence shows that Austronesian sailors reached as far west as Madagascar around 1,500 years ago. Meanwhile, Jewish merchant communities existed along the Indian Ocean trade routes during the same era. It's not far-fetched to imagine that genetic exchange happened through intermarriage in port cities from India to East Africa, long before Europeans arrived in Asia. Geneticists have found something even stranger. A small percentage of Filipinos carry haplogroups more commonly associated with West Eurasia, including R1, AR1b, and J. Similarly, some Jewish individuals show traces of mtDNA lineages common in Southeast Asia, possibly the legacy of ancient trade slavery or migration. When researchers first saw these overlaps, they thought they were errors, but as more DNA samples came in, the pattern persisted. Small, but undeniable traces of shared ancestry. The conclusion? While Jews and Filipinos are clearly distinct populations with unique histories, they are both branches of the same human family tree, and those branches have brushed against each other more than once in history. So, it's important to note that culture and genetics don't always align. For example, a Jewish person and a Filipino person might, share a piece of ancient DNA, but their languages, traditions, and religions actually evolved in completely separate contexts. In a world often divided by ethnicity and religion, discoveries like this remind us that the human story is one of connection. Your ancestors may have walked the same roads, sailed the same seas, or even shared the same small villages, thousands of years before you were born. The Jewish-Filipino DNA overlap is tiny, but it's symbolic of something much bigger. We're all connected by threads we can't see, until science lights them up. So the next time someone says two cultures are nothing alike, remember, if you look far enough back, the blood tells a different story. Because whether your ancestors were wandering desert traders or island-hopping navigators, you're still part of the same human journey. And that's not just science, that's the truth of who we are.